Hey, Jason here from Simply Swider. So if your Samsung dishwasher has that heavy light blinking and just won't cooperate, don't worry. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix it. Good news is most of these fixes are pretty straightforward once you know what you're looking for. Before we get started, if you run into any questions, jump into our Facebook group, links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. Here's the key to fixing your Samsung dishwasher. That blinking heavy light means different things depending on your model. The good news, I'll show you how to identify and fix both types in about 15 minutes. First, look at your control panel. Do you see an Express 60 button? This simple check tells us exactly which troubleshooting path to follow. Samsung uses two different diagnostic systems, and identifying yours first saves you time. The heavy light is basically the dishwasher's way of telling you something's wrong, but the specific problem depends on which sensor system is talking. Real world breakdown here. If you don't have that Express 60 button, you're dealing with the leak detection system. That's about 60% of the calls I get. If you do have the Express 60 button, it's usually a drainage or overfill issue. That's the other 40%. Think in layers: sensor, input, control logic, and drainage systems. The heavy light fault will always live in one of those layers. Our job is to figure out which one with the fastest checks first. So the number one thing I see, and this is probably 40% of all heavy light problems, is false alarms from that leak sensor. Now here's what's crazy. This sensor can be triggered by just a couple teaspoons of water. That's like 10 to 45 milliliters. Don't ask me how I figured that one out, but I've tested it. I had this customer last month who called me panicking because her dishwasher was completely frozen, wouldn't turn off, kept trying to drain. Turns out she'd been using way too much detergent and the suds overflowed into that base pan. Fixed it by drying out the pan and switching to dishwasher pods instead of that cheap powder stuff. Here's your step-by-step fix. First, safety first. Turn off power at the circuit breaker and wait 5 minutes. Remove the bottom kick plate by lifting it off or unscrewing it. Look for the rectangular base pan underneath. You'll see a small white styrofoam float inside. This is your leak sensor. Use paper towels or a wet dry vacuum to completely dry this pan. Even a few drops of water will trigger the error. Also check if you've been opening the door mid-cycle or using too much soap. Both of those will cause condensation and overflow that triggers this thing. Now, if you dry out that pan and the code comes right back, you've got a real leak somewhere. Here's a pro tip I learned the hard way. Grab some colored paper, like those floor protection sheets from Home Depot, and slide it under the dishwasher while you run a test cycle. That'll show you exactly where the water's dripping from. I remember this lady who had water pooling under her dishwasher for weeks. Turned out to be a cracked door gasket that only leaked when the water was really hot. Cost her $15 for a new gasket instead of calling someone like me for a $300 service call. Most common leak spots: that door seal around the front, the water inlet valve connections in the back, or the pump seals down below. Sometimes it's just a loose hose clamp that needs tightening. All right, so if your dishwasher has that Express 60 button, we're dealing with a completely different animal. The heavy light here means there's too much water sitting in the tub. Either it won't drain out or too much is coming in. I had this guy call me last week, said his dishwasher was like a swimming pool after every cycle. The fix was simple. His drain hose was lying flat on the floor under the sink. Here's what you need to do. Locate your dishwasher's drain hose under your sink. It's usually gray or black rubber. Create a high loop by securing it to the underside of your countertop with a zip tie or clamp. The hose should go up at least 20 inches, then back down to your garbage disposal or drain. This prevents dirty sink water from flowing backwards into your clean dishwasher. Also check that cylindrical filter down in the bottom. Pull it out and scrub it with hot water. I've seen those things so packed with grease and food gunk that the drain pump can't move any water. If your filters are clean and that hose is properly looped, check the drain pump for clogs. You'll need a flashlight and some towels for this 5-minute check. With power still off, locate the round drain pump cover at the bottom of the tub. Turn it counterclockwise about a quarter turn. It should lift right out. Warning, some water will spill out, so have those towels ready. I found everything in these pumps: broken glass, popcorn kernels, hair, even kids' toys. Had one customer whose drain pump was completely seized up by a penny that got stuck in the impeller. $25 part versus a $400 service call. Here's where most people mess up though. Don't just assume it's the pump without checking everything else first. I've seen folks spend money on a new pump when all they needed was to clean that filter. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes that heavy light isn't flying solo. Samsung uses different light combinations to tell you exactly what's going wrong. When you see multiple blinking lights, here are the most common combinations. Heavy plus auto equals too much water. Use the drainage fixes we just covered. Heavy plus delicate means your heating element has failed. Heavy plus express 60 means no water heating at all. I'll put a complete error code chart in the description below, but these three cover about 90% of what you'll see. But here's the thing, about 80% of the time, it's still going to be one of those main four problems we just went through. The multiple lights just give you a more specific idea of what's failing. The leak detector sensor, that little styrofoam float we talked about, you're looking at somewhere between 10 and 25 bucks depending on your model. Pretty easy to swap out too, just a couple wire connections. I've probably replaced 100 of these things over the years. Sometimes they get cracked or the styrofoam breaks down and doesn't float properly anymore. You'll know it's bad if you dry out that pan completely and the error comes right back, even though there's no water. Door gaskets run about $30 to $50 for most Samsung models. Now, here's something most people don't know. Sometimes you don't need to replace the whole gasket. I fixed a lot of these just by cleaning out the food buildup that prevents a good seal, but if it's cracked or torn, yeah, you're going to need a new one. Not a terrible DIY job if you're handy, but take your time getting it seated properly. The drain pump is probably your biggest expense here, usually runs 60 to 120 bucks, but here's the thing, I've seen way more drain pumps that just needed cleaning than actual failed pumps. Before you order one, pull it out and check that impeller for debris. Spin it by hand, should move freely. If it's seized up solid or the motor windings test bad with a multimeter, then you need a new pump. Otherwise, a good cleaning might save you 100 bucks. All right, if you're dealing with faulty parts after trying these fixes, let's talk about what you're looking at cost-wise. The good news is most Samsung dishwasher parts are pretty reasonable and way cheaper than calling someone like me out there. I always tell people to try the simple stuff first, cleaning, adjusting, checking connections before you start buying parts. But when you do need parts, here's what to expect. Now, before we wrap up, you can see right there on your screen the most common Samsung dishwasher models that run into these heavy light issues. Maybe you'll spot your own unit in that list. The pattern I've noticed over the years is that the models without the Express 60 button tend to have more leak sensor problems, while the newer ones with all the fancy buttons usually have drainage issues. This failure pattern isn't unique to Samsung though. Anytime you've got sensitive moisture detectors sitting under a wet appliance, false alarms become pretty common over time. Same thing happens with LG and some Bosch models. That's how you tackle the Samsung heavy light error. Remember, check for that Express 60 button first. That tells you whether you're dealing with leaks or drainage. Try these fixes in order. Dry out the base pan, check your drain hose routing, clean that filter, and inspect for actual leaks. Most of the time, one of these steps will solve it without spending a dime. Now that you've fixed it, here's your monthly maintenance checklist to prevent future problems. Use only 1 tablespoon of powder detergent or 1 pod per load. Clean your bottom filter on the 15th of each month. Set a phone reminder. Avoid opening the door during the first 10 minutes of any cycle. Follow these three rules and you'll rarely see that heavy light again. If you guys know someone who's having appliance troubles, please send them the link to this video or a link to my channel where I have tons of other videos showing how to fix pretty common issues with appliances, sometimes for free or as little cost as possible. It sure beats having a repairman come out and spending several hundred for them to fix it when it could be something so simple. If this helped you get your dishwasher working again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.